Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being on our program. As always, we have outstanding individuals to share their stories with us about all their focus and work about making society better. This is one of those very unique projects that I've come across because I keep in touch with Thelma Reyna, Doctora, and she is also a director for a publication company, Golden Hills Press. And her agenda, her bio is from here to 20 pages long with all she has done in education as a writer. But more than anything, she's a leader to help other people write their books. And this is today's story, one of those particular books that caught my attention as soon as I found out about it. And it's called When the Virus Came Calling. This is not just a book where we wrote about, or where she wrote about the virus calling. It was put together in a very unique way. But let's carry over to Dr. Reyna and have her explain what was this project and what is this book all about, When the Virus Came Calling.
Thank you very much. Would you like to see a copy of it? May I hold it up?
Yes, absolutely. When the Virus Came Calling. Now I understand that it's just barely coming out in print, so it's still hot off the press.
Exactly. This particular one is what they call a galley proof. So this is when I correct all the typos and then send it back. So it's got this weird, funky little band here. But yeah, the books will be here. The final books will be here in a few days. And so then they will be available also to the general public. So I'm very excited about this. It was a brainstorm I had back in February. I was very concerned how things were seeming like they were going to be unfolding with this virus attacking our nation. So I wanted to have a real-time telling, like firsthand, frontline, as it's happening, accounting of how this was affecting us. What was it doing to our nation? And I wanted to focus on America because that's, every nation is distinct with its own fears and hopes. So I reached out to approximately 45 to 50 distinguished writers that I know personally through many years of collaboration from all across the nation. And I personally invited each individual to submit to our publication. It was going to be a real-time anthology of everything, how they were experiencing it. Poets, personal essayists, fiction writers, and I asked them to submit whatever they felt like sending that represented their lived experiences with the virus as it was happening. So that was in February that I did this. I gave them a few months to send in their things. And little by little, the writing started coming in. As the virus was progressing, the writing started coming in. And I cut it off at the end of July. So I was interested in looking at the first half a year, 7 months of this. And I put it together into this book that is largely chronologically organized. So their writings are reflecting the different months of the year as the virus is getting worse and worse, and we're learning more and more about it, and we're locked down. So that's what this book is, a creative writer's firsthand in real time account of the virus and how it has affected our lives and our nation.
Let me ask a question because I'm just dying to learn more about what's in the book, which I will read, of course. Could you summarize sort of the feelings, the reactions overall from beginning to through the process? And, because you're putting together the writings of a lot of different wonderful individuals, how would you summarize what you read?
I am absolutely blown away by the quantity, the breadth, and the depth, the quality of these writings. Over 100 of them are poems. There are probably about 115, 120 pieces in the book. Over 100,
Wow.
100 are poems. However, we have personal essays where they're revealing their heart, their pain, their grieving of people. They're talking about how it feels to be locked down, the things that they're having to do, how they navigate each day, how they feel about it, how they feel largely about the nation, the denials, the setbacks, the challenges that we have, the huge numbers of deaths. And I'm happy to say, because I know grief and loss are so hard, they can drag us down. But the book has bright moments too, because all of us, and especially our 45 authors, they reached out to nature. There are pieces where they're out hiking in the mountains, being with their loved ones to try to mitigate the heaviness of this loss. But all in all, it captures just about every aspect and every region of our nation. There's a poem in there, for instance, New York, when it was at the height of its epidemic, and people were dying, hundreds of people were dying every hour on the hour. April 7th is the title of that poem, because that was the worst. And I describe that particular one was written by me, so I know it. But just the whole gamut of the pain, the loss, the deaths, the grief, the ameliorations, the importance of our family, our loved ones, coping, how we eat, how we work, how we're in shutdown, how we feel like prisoners. It is just utterly amazing. I believe that the historians of the future will look to this book as the first, they call it in research, I think they call it first person original research, coming straight in the moment from the people experiencing it. So it's really amazing. I am so impressed and honored by the creations of these writers.
When will this book be available to the public? And if you can give us a page or a location where we can find it on the internet.
Thank you. Absolutely. It should be in my hands the week of the 20th to 23rd in our press's hands, Golden Foothills Press. And it will also be up on various sites. It'll soon after that be up on Ingram Publishers, the Ingram, the printers, as well as on Amazon.com, worldwide availability. So we're looking toward the end of this month. It will be available for purchase. And in Amazon, as soon as they start running off the books, they put it up on their site. So again, it's When the Virus Came Calling, COVID-19 Strikes America, Poetry and Prose in Real Time. So this is the book, and as I say, it'll be up on Ingram, but most likely, especially on Amazon.com for availability this month.
Okay, and this month, for our viewers, we are in September 2020.
Yes.
So I want to make sure we clarify that. What was your personal reaction at having read all of them? I know you're speaking sometimes as a publisher or someone who's putting them together, but really on a personal level, sort of withdrawing yourself as the administrative responsibility, just having the chance to think it through.
Mm-hmm. On a personal level, this work, and I was the editor of the book, so the final product, good, bad, or ugly, is I'm accountable for that. It reinforces our basic universal humanity. It reinforces the commonality of grief and loss and pain and hope and fear. It did not matter. My chosen authors here run the gamut. They're ethnically diverse, they're generationally diverse, they're geographically diverse, they're politically diverse, but there is a universality. We all feel pain the same way. We all reach out for amelioration in the same way. As I mentioned, nature, hanging out with family, looking on the good side. There's a lot of hope and resilience in this book. It's very uplifting, but at the same time, it's very honest. It's very gut-wrenching, and I love authentic writing, where whether it's a poet, whether it's a short story writer, an essayist, and they're all represented here, where they open up their heart and soul to us and tell us what they're thinking, analyze it, they reflect it. And so in their telling, even if it's a brief piece, you'll get a glimmer, an insight that perhaps you hadn't looked at that particular situation the same way. And it's just really enriching and enlightening is how I personally feel about these writings.
You mentioned one particular writing, the one about New York. Which could you give us two or three titles that really stand out in your mind at this moment? You know, we keep thinking and reflect on the different levels, but that really come to mind that struck you at the moment you read it. And you read a lot of wonderful material, but I don't know, maybe.
Absolutely, yes. There is a beautiful poem written by a poet who actually lives in Costa Rica, even though she was in LA prior. Her name is Tricia Faye Hefner, and it's called "I Saw the Bodies Lifted." And she's referring to the New York situation where all those refrigerated trucks, where the morgues throughout the city could not handle the dead anymore. There were so many of them. And they started, if you remember, hundreds of refrigerated trucks lined up in parking lots. And she wrote a poem about that. And there's another one that comes to mind too, by the United States inaugural poet. Remember when President Obama was inaugurated back in 2013 for his second term, that he had a poet, an inaugural poet. It's the nation's highest honor to speak at a presidential inauguration. And in 2013, President Obama's inaugural poet was Richard Blanco. And he was so historic, the first Latino, the first immigrant, the youngest ever in our nation's history, the first openly gay poet. He was just amazing. And he has a poem in my book. I'm so proud and so grateful to him. And his poem is also really, really beautiful. I won't read it because I want
No, but sort of.
No, but the title of it is "Say This Isn't the End." And it just grabs you because he talks about how things used to be and how things are now. But yet, say this isn't the end. Give me your hope. Don't lose your hope. Reassure me that we are going to get out of this. And then there's another author here, David Duffy from New York, and his title, similar but very, very different, is called "We Will All Get Out of Here Alive." And of course, we won't. But the spirit.
I like the word play on words. Yes.
We will all get out of here alive. But the spirit of it is no matter what happens, we as a society, as a civilization, as a nation will not be crushed and destroyed. We will still be standing. And it's just short and simple and just really beautiful. So we got some poems that are 5 pages long. We have some poems that are a little paragraph long. It's just a gamut, just a delight. It's like a buffet. And I know that you, Armando, in your many cruise ship speakerships and experiences, you're very familiar with what a beautiful buffet looks like. Well, this is a buffet of very distinguished, amazing authors from across America, 45 of them in one book. So it's just utterly soul enriching and mind enhancing.
2 items. First of all, I'd like to ask you to please give us again the contact information where you're going to, our viewers and listeners can find the book in September 2020. And number 2, I'm going to ask you, is there any future where you see another book coming out where it's international, where the poets and the writers are invited on a worldwide basis to also respond to almost the same title, when the virus came calling?
Well, thank you. Those are excellent questions. The immediate place where our listeners, our buyers can go to is our press's website. It's www.goldenfoothills, with an S, goldenfoothillspress.com. That's where you can see not only this book, but all the other award-winning books. Most of our books have won awards, national awards. They're all listed on our press site, and you can order it directly from there. The other site is www.amazon.com, and then just go to books and just type in my name, Thelma T. Reyna, and it'll take you to the page where you can buy this book. And finally, it's www.ingram, INGRAM, Ingram.com. Those are, I actually had two publishing houses put this book out because I had slightly different reasons for doing that. So Ingram and Amazon and goldenfoothillspress.com, and you'll see us there. And thank you so much in advance for your support.
And the second,
and the second part, I think it'll depend. I think it'll depend on the reaction to this book. And if the reaction is as all of us authors are hoping it is, with strong interest and people wanting to know the backstory, the inside human story of this historic pandemic, then I would be more than happy to expand it. Maybe more authors, different authors, and maybe not just the United States of America. But in publishing, you never quite fully know what's going to be in the road. I already had two other commitments for our press. For example, in 2020, I already had another book that I was going to be putting out, and then I myself put out my memoir, Dearest Papa, a memoir and poems about the loss of my husband, to whom I was married for 50 years, Dearest Papa, memoir and poems. I had already issued that in early 2020, and then in the summertime, I was planning to issue a book of poets by a very iconic, famous Latino author named Alejandro Morales, his debut collection of poetry, which now has been pushed back to 2021. So those were my plans. And then, no, here comes this book, that the necessity of the times dictated that this needed to happen at this point in time. So we'll keep our doors and our hopes open and see where things take us in the literary world.
Do you see hope?
I always see hope. I think that when Ralph Waldo Emerson, I think it was one of the famous poets, said, "Hope springs eternal in the human breast." It might have been John Keats. Hope springs eternal in the human
It'll
breast.
be on your next test, so you better get it right.
I will get it right. And I really do believe that is one of the hallmark features of being a human being, is that we do have hope. The history of our nation, and we've had a pandemic in America before. It was brutal, the Spanish flu, but we survived it and we came out stronger at the end. And actually the concluding poem in the book is one of my poems. I added 5 poems, just like all the other authors were invited to do that too. And it's called Panoply of Gods. And in it, I look forward to the future, and I talk about how we will come out of this, but we are going to be a stronger, better nation. We will never, ever go back to normal. We will not. And a lot of people are saying that too. So the hope is for a lot of learning from this, a lot of strengthening from this, and determination to make civilization better after this. And I think that we can do all those if we all collectively put our minds together to do all that.
You did mention one item that the pandemic hit the United States. It hit the world. And the 1915 pandemic, the Spanish flu, hit the world. So, we have to be sensitive of how the people reacted. But in some places, they more aggressive to respond to it, which I think is more the value of hope. So, different people have reacted differently, but the loss has been worldwide. So I wanted to emphasize, we recognize the global community for, finding their soul in the middle of all this huge loss for people. We're talking in the millions, and unfortunately, it could still climb for a while before it's contained. So.
Absolutely. And of course, the projections for just even us here in the United States, that by the end of this calendar year, our loss is going to be more than double what it is. It's going to be above 400,000 is what a lot of scientists have recently predicted. And yes, getting back to the European and the Asian and the other parts of the world, my reason for limiting it to the US did not mean that I was not aware or not sad. As a matter of fact, what spurred me to want to do a book like this, to look at the inner, the backstory of the suffering, was I had been keeping up, I believe, very religiously. Every day I was reading and learning and listening what was happening in Wuhan, what was happening in Asia, what was happening in Italy, in Bergamo. Bergamo, I saw a stunning documentary about how that city became almost a ghost town and how they fought so hard. It was brutal. So I know the world is suffering a lot. The world has suffered. They did the suffering before we were infected with it. And that's another thing that helped me to appreciate the immensity, the magnanimity of this topic. And yeah, my heart goes out to all the people of the world suffering, because the old cliche, we're all in it together. And it's a cliche, but cliches oftentimes are birthed because they are speaking a very obvious truth.
Yeah. I had the honor of visiting India, and they're experiencing now the number of times. And because of the way the population is distributed in those countries, I think the impact will be very huge. And I'm sorry to see it growing, but I'm glad there is a discussion through your book, again, when the virus came calling. And there is an attempt to help people dialogue about it. At the end of the day, maybe they may not use wonderful, beautiful words, but I think that's what impacts me about your book, is it makes people talk about it instead of just sort of feeling sad, getting into depression, and saying, yes, but we will get past it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted to add too that there's going to be an official book launch, of course, through Zoom. Everything in the literary world today is through Zoom. On September 27th, which is a Sunday. On Sunday, September 27th, at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I live in California, we are going to do, it's sponsored by an iconic indie bookstore here in the region called Flintridge Bookstore. So there's going to be more on social media. I also invite you readers to please visit my Facebook page. I actually have 3 of them, but my main one is Thelma T. Reyna. Just go to Facebook and write in Thelma T. Reyna, and you can keep up with all of these things, and you can hear more commentary about the authors, about the book, about everything that's going on. But mark that day and just keep an eye out for it. The international, I guess, with Zoom book launch of this book, Sunday, September 27th at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
2020.
Yes.
2020.
A few weeks. In just a few weeks, yes.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time for being on our show, but I'd like to make sure that, again, see if I have the correct information. We can go to Golden Foothills Press to find information about, the evolution of the book being released. It will go into Ingram and it will go into Amazon. So, that'll keep us posted on when the book is available. Your closing statements.
Well, thank you so much, first of all, Armando. Through the years, you have always been so supportive of our press, my writings, fellow authors that you have very, very graciously and very lovingly and beautifully interviewed. So thank you so much for your support of the literary arts, all that you have done, and I know that you will continue to do.
Thank you.
And I'm very excited about this book. This is the 3rd anthology that I edit. It's my 9th or 10th book that I've, that has my name on it. So I'm very proud of all of our books, our precious books. But this, I believe, is right now, it holds a very special place in my heart. So I thank you for inviting me to share more about it. And I thank our listeners for tuning in. And I look forward to questions, comments. I love to hear from readers. I love to hear questions from emerging authors as well.
Where do
So
they send the
just
questions to?
they can just go to the website, and it has a contact place. It has a specific email, and sometimes people send me messages through there, or they can just message me on Facebook. I'm working. I admire emerging writers, new up and coming. I get a lot of questions about, I just finished a book. Can you give me some guidance on, can you publish it for me? And oftentimes it's no, because my schedule is pretty tight. But I'll get on the phone and I can talk for an hour with a writer who just finished a book and give that person tips and advice on where to go, what to do, what to look for. So I welcome feedback, comments, communications from our viewership, from all writers out there. And again, I thank you so much, Armando.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Dr. Thelma T. Reyna, who does publishing as well, Golden Hills Press. Please. Golden Foothills.
Foothills Press, yes.
Foothills, thank you. Golden Foothills Press. And please do take her on her word and invitation to contact her, and you have questions, and she will continuously try to get back to you. But I know she gets hundreds of emails a day, so patience is always a virtue. But also we look forward to your presentation. And like you said, it's on September 27th, 2020, 4 p.m. It's a Zoom meeting on the launch of the book. I wish you and everyone who wrote in the book, and I'm sure certain people did not have time to publish or send you materials as well, but also wanted to participate when the virus came calling. I love the title. It's very touching. It's very insightful. And I wish you continued success. And I look forward to this book and future publications.
Thank you very much, Armando. Have a great week.
Take care. Be safe. Be safe. Be safe.
Thank you. Same to you and to Trini and your family. Bye.